Hi, my name is Henrique Ribeiro. I'm part of the Clean Energy Technology Service, and today I'm going to talk about long duration energy storage. New capacity additions of long duration energy storage, which means installations exceeding 8 hours duration, will more than double in 2025 compared to 2024, driven by the increasing share of intermittent renewables across several different markets generating flexibility needs that may require intraday and even multi-day storage to address those eventual extended periods of low renewables generation. One of the main challenges for long duration energy storage is how to adequately remunerate these assets, since most of the times the flexibility needs are actually well below 8 hours. In practice, the long duration service may be required only a few times in a year in any specific market. And this, of course, doesn't favor the development of specific remuneration mechanisms for these assets, forcing them to compete in the same markets that are currently occupied by storage installations with 1, 2, or 4 hours duration. In theory, this shouldn't be a big problem. You could use long duration assets for short duration applications where you do have remuneration in place. But there is a critical technology and especially big cost barrier for that, which is the fact that lithium ion batteries dominate the storage market for durations up to 8 hours. And this is because they are extremely cheap compared to other technologies and also extremely efficient in providing immediate response. Their issue is that costs go up with duration, so they are not an economic choice for long duration energy storage, where you have several other types of technologies where power and energy are decoupled from each other, meaning that the duration doesn't have a significant impact on cost. But that idea of using these other technologies instead of lithium ion for any types of duration, they would indeed allow increasing durations when necessary. But this will not happen because of the huge cost disparity in favor of batteries in any scenario where the required duration is up to 8 hours, which is just the bulk of the storage market that we have. And even if lithium ion batteries were more expensive or simply didn't exist, most of these alternative technologies that are better suited for long duration storage are simply not economical for durations below 8 hours. And many of them are much less efficient than lithium ion as well for these um, short duration applications. So, from a business perspective, long duration storage can't access the existing storage revenues and doesn't have specific revenues. And from a cost perspective, it is also more expensive to build compared to standard storage of 8 hours or less. So, what is the solution then? And how is this market going to grow in 2025? It's not a simple question, but one of the main things that is changing at the moment is that some public procurement schemes are just starting to emerge in certain jurisdictions. Europe, in particular, is becoming the epicenter of demand for long duration energy storage. So you have Germany, for example, launching a CapEx support mechanism in late 2024 aiming to install 36 gigawatt hours of storage projects with 72 hours of duration. Then you have the UK, which is also working on a mechanism that is intended to provide cap and floor contracts for long duration storage. And although the minimal duration was initially suggested at 6 hours, the local regulator is willing to raise that for at least 8 or 10 hours. You also have Italy requiring a minimum of 8 hours duration in its capacity market. This is also the case in New South Wales in Australia. So there are initiatives going on in many different locations. But it's important to consider that with the consistent reduction in lithium ion prices, This shorter end of the long duration spectrum, from 8 to 10 hours, maybe even 12 hours in the future, will be mostly occupied by lithium ion batteries. But those multi-day requirements, such as what we have in Germany, will certainly depend on other technologies, particularly those having low incremental cost of energy capacity. And there are two very strong technologies that stand out from others for these long duration requirements. And these technologies are pumped hydro storage, where water is pumped from a lower altitude reservoir into a higher altitude reservoir and then released when energy is needed. And the second one is compressed air energy storage, where air is stored in the underground and then liberated to move turbines. Both of these technologies benefit from established supply chains. They have decades of proven performance, and both of them become very cheap at high durations. You just need to create a bigger lake for pumped hydro or a bigger salt cavern for compressed air, and both of these are very cheap on a per kilowatt hour of stored energy basis. We are then left with this gap between 8 to 72 hours, where you'll have a lot of technologies competing, such as flow batteries, concentrated solar power, liquid air, but all of them have a difficult road ahead because they will face competition from lithium ion in the low end of 10 to 12 hours and from pumped hydro and compressed air for above 12 hours duration. And very importantly, these technologies don't have a market to use as a lever to gain scale and increase their cost competitiveness, such as what lithium ion, for example, did with electric vehicles. So they will need to explore other characteristics different from cost to attract customers in the beginning. What is clear for now is that we will definitely need all weapons we have to fight climate change, so different technologies will have different roles to play as we see renewables advancing and creating varied duration profile requirements. And that's all for today. Thanks for watching.